Hello and welcome to Pluribus Fireside Chats. Not as good as FDR's, but hey, it's something. Now, this episode, before we get into the main topic, I just want to address something that I didn't even realize until now, because I was just doing some research, and I learned that John Wolfe Jr., the Democratic presidential candidate from 2012 that I interviewed on my channel, passed away in September of 2023. I mean, that's a pretty big thing to happen. I mean, there really isn't much else to say. I included, I posted, a fucking, a community post, and then posted, similar things in, the comments of the two episodes I did with him, and I'll probably, link them, here. It's just a little odd. But anyways, let's get right into the news. First, a news story that was kind of one that I think I neglected. Okay, so, for those who don't know, Suriname, which is a country in the Caribbean, had a leader by the name of Desi Bouterse, and he was a dictator back in the 1980s, and then was elected to be their president in a more recent election, but he is not the current president. He was kicked out of office because his party failed to win enough votes. So what ended up happening is that due to the fact that he was elected, he was given amnesty for some of his political actions due to the 1980s coup. But then, inevitably, when he left office, it ended up biting him in the butt, because then they're like, okay, so now we can actually do some investigating in regards to this situation and what you did. And he was sent to jail for human rights abuses. Or at least he was supposed to, because after he was sentenced, he disappeared. He has apparently disappeared, and his wife has stated that he ain't being checked. It's like, wow. There's really not much else to say on that. I only include that because that's just a fucking really weird story. Okay, so speaking of weird stories, so a weird thing happened in Mexico. Now, as of the day I'm recording this, everything's supposed to be official for the 2024 election. All the candidates are filed. I mean, I assume that there won't be any updates in regards to the candidate list. There might be a chance, I don't know, maybe in the future. But as far as I can tell, we got the 3 candidates. But there's an interesting thing that happened that was just really weird. So randomly, the mayor of Cuauhtemoc, which is a province in the Mexican city, Sandra Cuevas, randomly decided out of nowhere to start a new political party. And she doesn't intend to run candidates in this cycle because she can't run candidates in this cycle. But this is a woman that she has this very... I learned about her career fucking really quick, really fast. And, here's basically her career. So she is a member of the PRD, but she had attended CPAC, last year. And not just CPAC, the one that is very, not so subtly trying to get QAnoners to be in CPAC. She went to that. Really weird. And she's starting a new political party to potentially contend in Mexican elections in 2025. But she's already facing problems with this new party because during the event where she announced her new party and was hooray, I'm going to be the leader of this party, she invited members of the military to come to the event. And here's the thing. In Mexico, that is forbidden. Article 17 of the disciplinary law of the Mexican Army and Air Force says that it is strictly prohibited for military personnel on active duty to interfere in political matters, directly or indirectly, except for those who enjoy a license that allows them to do so in terms of the provided by the laws of blah blah blah. So, literally, if you are an active member of the military, which these people are, you cannot endorse political candidates, you cannot support political candidates. And, as a politician, she's an incumbent politician, so she cannot invite members of the military to her events unless they are literally serving in a military capacity. But this isn't a military capacity. It is a private matter. So, yeah. Moving on to the United States, let us talk about a thing that is apparently news, but it isn't really. Alright, so the Iowa caucus just happened. And shock of all shocks, Donald Trump won the Iowa caucus. The only reason that it was even being remotely considered like a surprise was the fact that Trump didn't win the Iowa caucus initially. In 2016, it was Ted Cruz who won it. But that was because back then the GOP had like some sort of like quote unquote standards. And this has apparently narrowed the field to 3. Because after the caucus happened, Vivek Ramaswamy and Asa Hutchinson dropped out. Now, Vivek dropping out was not surprising at all. What was surprising was the fact that Asa decided to drop out. Like, I was genuinely surprised that that happened, because I genuinely thought that Asa was going to pull I don't care if I never get a single vote, I will push for this issue because blah blah blah. But it turns out, no, that's not how it works. With things going so far as to point out the fact that only one county didn't go to Trump, going to Haley, which got overall in the state got a close third, but a close third is only because she got close to DeSantis. Meanwhile, DeSantis and Trump had a very decent margin. That despite the fact the results are going to be very obvious moving forward, there are some of the GOP that still have this heavy amount of copium that either Haley or DeSantis are going to pull a magic upset in New Hampshire that will then cause Trump to lose all momentum moving forward, which very unlikely to happen. And surprisingly, coalitions are now starting to form, with many people, with Tim Scott and Vivek Ramaswamy immediately endorsing Trump afterwards. And it seems that Phil Scott's going to endorse Haley when things get a little close to the New Hampshire primary, which is tomorrow, as of this episode coming out. I keep forgetting how close it is. Like, literally, it's like things are heading forward now. Like, literally, things are heading forward now. And the one person that has been doing things that are very interesting is Biden, because he's been trying to run victory laps, being like, hey, these guys are fucking stupid. They can't beat Trump, but I can. Which is like, okay. Anyway, speaking of beatings, a person is getting a very bad beating in regards to my respect for them. Former congressman and Cleveland mayor files to run for House seat in Ohio. If that didn't make it obvious, it is Dennis Kucinich, who has filed to run for Ohio District 7, facing off against Representative Max Miller. Now, this is very interesting for a couple of reasons. For starters, Kucinich is actually, Kucinich is really old. He's 76 years old. And second, he, according to the paperwork that has been released, he is running under a party called the Independence Party, which essentially means he's running as an independent candidate in the race. Now, it seems the only reason why Kucinich is running as an independent, there could be a couple of reasons why Kucinich is running as an independent. For starters, he's allegedly made the claim the Democratic Party has been is pushed too far into the wayside or whatever. But the bigger reason is because I think it's literally just because the filing deadline has passed. Will I be supporting his bid? Of course not. I'm not supporting his bid. Are you crazy? Because genuinely, this is what his bid is going to be. His bid is going to claim that, the Democratic Party is the party of warmongers, even though the GOP is objectively the party that is further to the right on basically every single foreign policy outlook. The party is literally filled to the brim with warmongers. Even their so-called isolationists are literally still warmongers. And it's just genuinely Now, the funny thing is, I did literally just recorded something that has Kucinich involved in it. That is a big project. By the time, okay, I guess I'll say it. If you want to know what it is, sub to my Patreon, because there's going to be a trailer to it on the 24th. It's going to be my biggest project of the year. Oh, and if anybody who is not a Patreon, if a person who is not on the Patreon page tells me what it is, I will ask them who told them and ban them from whatever. Anyways, last story, pretty big W, but still an L, because it's W because Bernie Sanders does the right thing in regards to something regarding Israel. Wow. a lot of people were trying to say, like, oh, he's so gone on Israel. We've lost all of our respect for Bernie. But it's like, but he's still doing a good thing in regards to Israel. And it is the fact that he pushed for a bill that would essentially condition aid to Israel. Basically, the bill was going to have it so that they would have to investigate Israel's human rights abuses before aid would move forward for them, which essentially would have cut aid to Israel. Here are the 11 senators that did the right thing and voted for this bill. Bernie Sanders, obviously, Martin Heinrich, Jeff Merkley, Chris Van Hollen, Ed Markey, LaFonza Butler, Ben Ray Lujan, Mazie Hirono, Peter Welch, and Elizabeth Warren, and, for the Republican side, Rand Paul. I mean, there's not much else to say. It was pretty obvious that this bill was going to fail, but it was good that we pushed for this bill regardless. I guess with that out of the way, let us move on to the main topic of this video. Now, I have a feeling that this one might get heated. I say this, and then it never gets heated in the comment section, because nobody comments. But this is more likely going to be the third and final episode of the series, Why I Am Not Blank. And the reason being is because I genuinely don't think I can really add much nuance to any other ideology for this series. Like, I mean, why I'm not a socialist, I even prefaced it with saying I'm not a socialist yet, because I think, because it was like, I could have seen myself potentially being a socialist. And by that virtue, it's like you could have potentially viewed yourself as a further left ideology than socialism, like anarchism or communism. But like really, those are the only two ideologies I could even think of to like provide salient things. I mean, you can comment if you want to see more episodes of this series, like why I'm not a liberal, like why do I think liberalism is too far right, or why I'm not a conservative. But I think at this point, like those ones would be pretty obvious. Now, anarchism is also one that's kind of obvious, because just like, that a government, you really can't do anything in regards to pushing your ideology. Like, I mean, sorry. But anyways, let's just get into it. Like, this one's very interesting. Why I am not a communist. And I even decided to give it its own little preface, and probably never will be. I say probably because there is, under a vague technicality, like, it's kind of weird, because like, under some vague technicalities, you could even argue that I already am a communist. Because that would be like a whole like thing in and of itself. Like, do you consider terms like socialist and communist as interchangeable? Are they like really like completely antithetical? Are they like genuinely like what are they? But there is technically some wiggle room where you could either identify me as a communist now, or I could potentially see myself identifying as a communist in the future. But I genuinely don't think I would, and after seeing this episode, you'll understand why. But first, let me explain, like, what is communism? Communism, as defined in its literal sense, is a political theory derived from Karl Marx, advocating class war and leading to a society in which all property is publicly owned and each person works and is paid according to their abilities and needs. Other definitions that kind of understand the point is like workers owning the means of production, absence of private property, absence of money, and absence of the state. Like, it really depends on your own definition. And of course, there are a lot of different sects of communism that have various different ins and outs in regards to how they get to that point. Marxism, in its most very basic traditional sense, literally being stateless, classless society where everybody earns the money they need to survive, and such, or their needs are met regardless of money. There's this little booklet that I was probably supposed to read before I ended up doing this episode again. I read it before, and I didn't necessarily hate the things that I read in it. Look at me, literally with all of the crying and bitching and moaning about this little book. I was genuinely like, really? Really? This is what people were complaining about? But there is one thing that immediately makes you understand, oh, this is why you're probably not a communist. And that's because, literally, in the most traditional Marxist sense, communism would literally be the absence of the state, so essentially it would be anarchism. And I already made a whole video talking about why anarchism just doesn't make any sense to me. But a lot of people don't necessarily mean that when they mean communism, to the point where many people who even argue that kind of outlook are not necessarily seen as quote-unquote communists. They're seen as anarcho-communists. And I think one of the people that kind of changed this outlook was Lenin, Vladimir Lenin, because Lenin kind of changed the definition of communism a little bit. Because at the end of the day, he understood, okay, we can't literally just go from this to this. We need something that leads into our stateless, classless society. So he pushed for a vanguard party to basically be a transition period, with him leading something called the dictatorship of the proletariat, where it's like, I'll basically take control of everything to try and make sure things get the way that we want, with the end goal of potentially making it so that eventually we would get to the stateless, classless society that we want. Then he died, and someone else stepped into the plate and was like, we can get rid of that whole of the proletariat part, you know what I mean? And this is where we're going to have to start getting into this big thing, because I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Like, at the end of the day, and I said it a little bit at the beginning of the segment, because, like, at the end of the day, I do not necessarily disagree or oppose communism in and of itself. Like I said, I've read the manifesto, and I didn't really see any issues in there. And I'll even go one step further. I was planning to say this for a little bit at the end, but I'll just say this. Like, I've taken a ton of political tests. I even took them, like, again, like, in the lead up to this episode. And they give me a lot of, like listen to some of these. I took the dozen values test, and my second best ideologies were a tie between libertarian Marxism, neo-Marxism, and left communism. Left values frequently puts centrist Marxism near the top of my rankings, with the most recent time I took it giving me a 94.4 agreement with centrist Marxism. Econ values gave me Marxism as my economic value. When I recently took the political scales test, it gave me 93% communism. 4 orbs gives me the communist economic model, regardless of whether I take their version or the 8 values version. 10 groups gives me classical Marxism. Idea sorter gives me council communism. Though to be fair, idea sorter is not really the best test of any of those ones. But yeah, they've given me, whenever I take tests, they do give me, ideologies that are close to, if not literally, communism. And as I said, I've read the books. I read a book. I read the program. I don't necessarily disagree with the end goal. I don't necessarily disagree with the ideals behind it to help workers and people who need assistance get the assistance, so that we don't have the literal boot of commerce and consumerism being what drives the world and leaving hundreds, if not thousands of people, if not millions of people to suffer. So you might say, if all that's true, then why don't you identify as a communist? Well, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I didn't finish the quote. I only said the first part. I don't hate communism. I hate communists. Because communists are literally the worst advocates for communism. Because all of my disagreements with communism, or whatever, have absolutely nothing to do with the Red Scare. Have absolutely nothing to do with the evil, you can't run communism like this. If everybody's equal, then no one will work. I don't do that kind of stuff. My critiques of communism have almost exclusively everything to do with the actions they so-called members of the ideology do. Genuinely. If you want to turn people off from communism, put a hammer and sickle emoji in Twitter, and you'll find a ton of things that are just objectively bad. Now, some of this is not necessarily purely on communism. It's a thing that is of the broader left. But communists kind of do this one, this first one, they do this one a lot worse than the broader left. Sectarianism. If you know anything about me personally, ideologically, is that I don't necessarily adhere to an extremely rigid orthodoxy in regards to my political philosophy. Like, I mean, aside from being a left-wing person and being a socialist, really, I don't really, like, go into the whole, like, oh, you're, like, this part of the left or this part of the left. Oh, you're bad. Very early on, I kind of did that because I was like, yes, I'm, like, so into social democracy, so I love every social democrat ever. But as I've expanded my horizons, things have stretched a lot more. I admire figures that range from social democrats all the way to the dreaded communists. And rather than taking my entire ideology based on one figure, I in fact take them from many different figures and then combine all the aspects I see with them and things that don't necessarily come from a specific thinker, and then take all that together. Like, I mean, let's take a look at Mexico. I admire Subcomandante Marcos. I admire Emiliano Zapata. I admire AMLO. I admire Lázaro Cárdenas. I admire Cuauhtémoc Cárdenas. A lot of these figures fucking hate each other. They absolutely despise each other. And yet I admire all of them. And I think that a lot of them have good points, even if they're, like, literally, like, Subcomandante Marcos, literally, despite the fact that Subcomandante Marcos and AMLO were originally, like, buddy-buddy, Subcomandante Marcos literally went so far as to claim that AMLO is a false leftist. And yet I admire both of those figures, for various reasons. I admire AMLO a lot more than I admire Subcomandante Marcos, but I do give him props for the things that he's done. Every pink tide leader, with the exception of like 2 or 3 of them, I have some form of admiration to. And the pink tide ranges very drastically. Like, literally, we have people like Chavez and Evo Morales that are like extremely revolutionary leftist. Then on the other end, you have people like Lula and AMLO and Nestor Kirchner, who are more reformist socialists. I don't say, oh, these guys are good, these guys are bad. No. I take the good aspects of all of them and then come to my own conclusions based on it. A lot of communists don't really do that. Not only are you, like first of all, they go so far as to be like, no. If you're not a communist, then bad. You are bad. You are the enemy. Even if it's antithetical to their left-wing, like, figures' ideals. Who cares that this figure that I admire, like, had a revolution that ranged from liberals to fucking, like, anarchists? No. You see, if you don't admire this specific person's ideology, then you are evil. Like, and yeah, it goes a little bit further. Because not only are you bad if you do not identify as a communist, but you also have to identify with the specific branch of communism this person was. And, like, sometimes it's noticeable. Like, oh yeah, Trotskyists and Marxist-Leninists aren't necessarily fans of each other. But then it goes a little step further. You know, in the United States, we have quite the number of Trotskyist political parties, right? And they all fucking hate each other. And it's because each of them have a different perspective in regards to Trotskyism. So all these groups are never going to coalesce with each other because they view themselves as like, we are the true Trotskyist thinkers in the United States. And even the remotely, like, even the, like, smallest remote indication that they are, like, breaking their ideology is considered a bad thing. Like, don't even consider, like, oh, like, I just genuinely can't understand. Like, it's like, you agree with these figures 99% of the time. Why are you, like, getting super crazy over, like, the 1% of things that you don't agree on? Literally, literally, you could take someone from the PSL and take someone from fucking Socialist Equality Party. It's literally just like, oh yeah, you want to abolish the social classes of the United States? Yeah. You want to end imperialism around the world? Yeah. You defend sex pests? Yeah. But this one random thing that happened long before any of our members were even born, do you agree with this side or this side? Oh, we agree with that side. Oh, how dare you. You are now evil and you're part of the same capitalist pigs as the fucking Republicans. It's like, what? I made a joke in my Discord server. It's literally just like, literally, it can even go so far as to be like, if you have the wrong shade of red on your fucking, like, Soviet Union flag, you are completely excommunicated from one communist party versus the other. If you don't read this book and then come to the exact same conclusion that we do, then you are bad. You got this all the time with Vosh. People were like, oh, Vosh, he's lying about Marx, he's lying about Marx, he's lying about Lenin, because he read those quotes and he interprets it to believe that they would vote for Joe Biden. It's like, I mean, there's a chance that he could have read the book and interpreted it differently, but no, they view these books as gospel, so anybody who disagrees with this book 100%, then they're considered evil. And these guys would rather be in their small little cliques than actually building up the so-called movements that they actually give a shit about. Socialist Alternative literally just published a thing, they're literally just like, oh, we hate DSA now. It's like, wait, weren't you trying to like infiltrate DSA to like take them over or whatever? But I guess it didn't pan out. And a similar thing, like the PSL. PSL is a prime example of this. The PSL, the Party of Socialism and Liberation, they left the Workers' World Party. For what reason? I don't know. They never gave an answer. But for some reason, now they don't like each other. And we've tackled a little bit of this already, but let's just think about this for a second. Okay, so a group of people are holding an extremely rigid orthodoxy with a strict reliance of authority from their party leaders. They hold books as gospel, and you can't question what they say. You're not allowed to question the beliefs, you're not allowed to question what the group stands for, or whatever. I think I've heard of this before. That's called a cult, and a lot of these figures, they literally, like a lot of these figures and communist groups just end up becoming cults. And not just like I mean, I know there's a lot of things like, oh, cult of personality. Yeah, a lot of communist leaders end up having a cult of personality too. But I mean, like, these groups end up becoming just like literal cults. Literally, you can name a ton of them. Center for Political Innovation, Socialist Equality Party, Party of Social Liberation, Revolutionary Communist Party USA, People's Temple, Black Hammer Party, Democratic Workers' Party, Workers' Cause Party. A lot of these groups have either been accused of or just flat out stated to be cults. And they really don't help themselves because they literally just act like cults. Again, you're not allowed to question what these thinkers do. If you're not with us, then you are against us. Many of these groups have a propensity of protecting sex pests within their ranks or just outside of their ranks. Center for Political Innovation, Caleb Maupin is a sex pest. Socialist Equality Party has defended many of the people who were accused of sexual misconduct during the Me Too movement. Party of Social Liberation movement, they have gotten accused of harboring many sexual predators. The Socialist Workers' Party, another communist party, they defended Mark Curtis, despite the fact that he was very obviously guilty of his sexual crimes. And another branch of their sort of ideological leanings that come to be like a little cult-like is this tactic called democratic centralism, which is a Leninist interpretation of party unity, where after an issue is debated and voted on, there is to be no more discussion about it, and that piece of the agenda everybody has to agree with. Which, I mean, in and of itself isn't technically wrong, but just listen to how the PSL interprets this. The cues from the PSL's literally most recent constitution. Here's how they define their democratic centralism in regards to it. And tell me if this doesn't sound like, at the very least, a little bit weird. All members, including those who disagree, are duty-bound to publicly defend and carry out these decisions. That just sounds weird, right? Like, if you would disagree, we don't care. You have to spout our party line. No ifs, ands, or buts. Now, you see, here's the thing. A lot of the criticisms that I give to communists, many people will probably say that I shouldn't give to communists. And here's the thing. I've tried not to make it so that communists and these are unilateral, because I know they're not necessarily unilateral. I've tried my best to distinctly divide my criticisms of this specific type of person and divide it from communism. That's why I had that. That's why I made up that quote to begin with. I don't hate communism. I hate communists, because all the people who advocated as like, we are communists, they acted weird. That doesn't necessarily change like the ins and outs of like the ideology in and of itself. I've tried to differentiate them, but for some reason, they won't allow me to differentiate the two. Like, the one term that I think a lot of people have tried to use to differentiate the two is tankies, where it's like, okay, so tankies are a specific type or branch of like communism, or people who claim to be communist. For those who don't know what the term tanky means, tankies basically, like when it was originally formed, it was communists that were supportive of the Soviet Union, even when they did things that completely went against communism. And in a more modern sense, it is people who are, like, who identify as communists that go a little bit, like, weird in regards to it. Basically gravitate towards the literal worst aspects of quote-unquote communism. You know, the things that don't actually make it communism, the things that make it not communism, but for some reason, they gravitate towards it as if it is communism. Like, while many years, people in the United States who were communists, or people around the world who were communists, have done their best to try and make it be like, no, Lenin and Stalin are not real communists, then these guys would turn around and go, no, they were, and the things that they did were good. We'll get to that in a bit. And I've tried to differentiate the two. I've tried to be like, okay, yeah, these are two completely different things. But the problem is, they're not allowing me to make them two different things. Because when I think that there's like the so-called, these are the good communists, these are the ones, they're not like crazy, stupid people like the tankies, they just start talking like the tankies. Like fucking Second Thought. Second Thought, he used to be cool, and now he's just like a fucking tanky like the rest of them. Literally just like, oh yeah, you know, I do have like critiques of like some of the communist nations or whatever around the world, but I genuinely understand, like I genuinely believe that the ideas, and then now it's just like, maybe Stalin wasn't a bad person. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Because like eventually, the so-called good ones, they just end up becoming tankies when push comes to shove. Like I had two members of my Discord server, they were communists, and it seemed like they were normal people. And then when in our many discussions about the Israel-Palestine situation, I just very casually go like, yeah, Hamas bad, like, you know, just because Hamas is bad. And then they're like, but are they really though? It's like, yes, they are bad. Terrorist groups who bomb buses, bad. Well, yeah, but like, don't you see, like, no, you don't understand. Bad. They are bad. But like, aren't they doing like the revolutionary? No, they're not doing the revolutionary good. They're bad. And now we get to have Hassan literally just decide to invite a fucking terrorist on his show. Just be like, yeah, dude, don't you like One Piece? You're just like Luffy, for real, for real. It's like, what is going on here? And one of the most prime examples that I could think of is one that immediately every single person who is allegedly communist is going to start going crazy over. Caleb Maupin. And here's the thing, the second I use Caleb Maupin to criticize communism or communists, they'll immediately go like, haha, lol, he's not a real communist. But is he though? Like, because let's think about it. He read the books, he joined the parties, he's met with people who've rallied against the US empire, he's done all the things that allegedly a good communist is supposed to do. And it was him doing all these things that led him to the point where he is today. And yet you're gonna say that he is not representative of communists at all? Like, at all? Like, not even like not at all? But like, what do you mean? Like, the dude has had a long history of communist activism before he ended up doing the things that he does now. And I think the downright refusal to acknowledge this is just kind of weird. Although when I try to make a distinction between him and you don't like that distinction. And then it's the problem, because like the people I was talking about, the ones in my server, they hated Maupin. And yet they just ended up doing the thing that he's doing now, giving vocal support to Hamas, apparently, because they were against the US empire, they were against Israel. Because I guess that was the only metric they needed. And this is another issue, like, because like, it seems that the so-called communists are more likely to team up with people against the left than they are with actually like helping the left. Like, I mean, aside from this, like, communists spend way more time attacking socialists and like people who are liberals than attacking fascists, to the point where they will even allow fascists to win in order to pwn the libs. Most infamous example I can think of, Ernst Thälmann, who literally had the German Communist Party team up with the Nazis on multiple occasions exclusively to hurt the Social Democrats. And when the Social Democrats tried to get the German Communist Party to align with them to stop the fascists, Thalmann said no. He literally told the Communist Party of Germany, do not let a tree, like a Nazi tree, deter you from the forest of Social Democrats. Basically saying, like, look, they're water under the bridge. We need to start fighting the real enemies, these guys, and spent all their time focusing against the quote-unquote social fascists, which is stupid. It's just a thing that Stalin made up so that the people who were in the communist movement around the world wouldn't team up with leftist parties around the world that didn't have Stalin breathing down their neck. And again, all of this while also saying that they are okay with supporting this fucking far-right terrorist group, apparently. Giving their critical support, which is a thing I've also hear communists do a lot, that are just like, I hate the term fucking critical support now. Even when I actually do want to give quote-unquote critical support of things, at the end of the day, I just will never use, I just really can't think of a way to use that term properly anymore. Because it's just been bastardized to the point that it's just like, really? Like, literally, we'll get this all the time. Like, a communist, or I guess even to a degree some socialists, will say that we need to extend our critical support to certain figures around the world for various reasons. Whether it be they're communists, so we should give our support to them because they're communists, or they're socialists, so we should give our support to them because they're socialists, or, in the most vague and stupid ways, they're anti-West, so we should give our support to them because we oppose the West. I have heard communists literally say, from many different ways, that we should give our critical support to people like Daniel Ortega in Nicaragua, who is literally turning the whole country into an oppressive one-party regime, Xi Jinping, who is literally an authoritarian who is committing a genocide against the Uyghurs, Kim Jong-un, a prince of a fucking, dynasty in his country, Bashar al-Assad, who poison gassed his own people, and is, again, basically a prince in a regime. But on a first glance, you might say, well, at the very least, those guys identify or, at least extensively claim to be socialist or communists. So I guess that makes sense, right? But they also say we should extend our support to Putin. Why? Because he's anti-West. Ignore the fact that he has literally turned the entire fucking country of Russia into an oligarchic state where he is basically the supreme leader and lets fucking capitalism roam free. Lukashenko, far-right leader who is literally grooming his son to be the next heir of his world. The Houthis, a terrorist group that literally curses a fucking religious group in their flag, but they're anti-West. They're just anti-West. They're just anti-Israel. They're pro-Palestine. Don't read their flag. Don't read their flag at all. Also Hamas, again, terrorist organization, and even the fucking Taliban. These three ones make no sense. These three are not left-wing groups. They are extremely far-right, and again, completely are antithetical to left-wing ideals. Wasn't it Karl Marx that said that religion was the opiate of the masses? And yet, we got three groups here that literally want to supply as much fucking opium as they want? We're allowed to give our critical support to them, but heaven forbid that you even remotely consider giving critical support to liberals or even fucking socialists. No, I mean, literally, if you even say, oh, I support Gabriel Boric, ew, get out of here. You say, oh, I support Bernie, or I support AOC, ew, gross, get out of here. You even insinuate, oh, we should support Biden to stop fascism. It's ew, gross, get the fuck out of here. Ew. I genuinely do not understand. It's on one end, you have fucking, literally on one end, you have person who, at best, or at worst, can be identified as a social democrat, who believes in ending U.S. imperialism abroad, wants peace-based foreign policy, wants to increase very big domestic policies, has a radical past that indicates further radical movements in his mind, at the very least, or we support this person who is not at all even remotely socialist, has denounced socialism, believes that socialism is bad and would kill any socialist he has a chance to, wants to run his country as a fucking like oligarchic state. But no, we have to give our support to that guy, but not fucking Bernie. Even remotely consider saying, hey, maybe we should vote Biden. Stop. Like, literally, I just don't get it. It's like, vote Biden. Like I mean, it's like literally just like Biden oligarchic and then Putin oligarchic, but we can't support one. We have to support the other. This next topic is related, but we have to start a little backer for that. Okay, so, like, the next one is about hero worship, because these guys love fucking hero worship. Like, these guys just unquestionably, many tankies can, and fucking communists online can literally just easily be identified by fucking like the same few pictures of like a random communist figure, because they're nothing beyond support for this random historical figure. And they're fucking all in. They're like a fucking like random fucking child on election Twitter, where it's like they'll pick some random fucking politician and just be like, my entire personality will be based on this person alone. My entire personality will be based on Che Guevara. My entire personality will be based on Lenin. My entire personality will be based on Stalin. And literally anything that even remotely gives any criticism to any of the figures that I admire. Ew. Disgusting. Like, you, not even at the point where it's just like, oh, we can take the bad elements and the good elements from this historical figure and then judge them based on that. Like how we do with a lot of historical figures, because a lot of historical figures done a lot of bad things, done a lot of good things. And normal people take the bad with the good and acknowledge both. But not communists. Granted, there are a lot of other people who also don't do that either. But in this case, we're talking about the ones that are ones with hammer and sickles. Again, very cultish. These figures, they love them, they admire them, no criticism of them. Like, I mean, and they even will accuse you of hero worship. Like, I say, hey, let's support Bernier. Hey, let's support AOC. Hero worship. Oh, you're just some hero worshipping lib. It's like, you accuse me of fucking hero worship of a ton of politicians and figures, but at least I can fucking criticize the politicians I admire. Watch. Bernie Sanders pulls way too many punches and hardly throws any when it comes to things like Israel and other foreign policy stances. FDR, huge Nipponophobe. Teddy Roosevelt, massive imperialist, and more than likely one of the major reasons why the US is a fucking imperial power to begin with. AMLO is too conciliatory to right-wingers and too harsh on critiques on women. Evo Morales needs to get the fuck off of his high horse and pass the torch. Lazar Cardenas conceded to neoliberals way too fast. William Jennings Bryan was a religious zealot who opposed scientific progress. Vosh's foreign policy takes are very common L's. Rocky Anderson wasted an opportunity to build a Justice Party and is now a has-been. Norman Thomas was incredibly wrong for aligning with Charles Lindbergh during World War II. Peter Stark was a great congressman, but should have retired or actually debated Swalwell so he stood a chance in that re-election bid. John Conyers is a fucking rapist and tried to kill the internet because he was absolutely shit on copyright. Raul Grijalva is a sellout who backed Warren because he is afraid of actual change. Ro Khanna, fucking dirty capitalist. I could go on. I could criticize any fucking figure that I admire because I'm not, like, beholden to them. Find any fucking Maoist that will criticize Mao. Find me any fucking ML who will actually criticize Stalin. Pack for a long-ass journey, cause you ain't finding them. Find a Trotskyist to criticize Trotsky. Like, again, pack up. You won't be able to find nothing. Even when it's things that objectively are wrong, you can't criticize these figures. Because if you do, you're an evil CIA op. You're ruining communism. You're doing all this stuff. You're a lib. You're a fascist. Even if it leads them to supporting the exact same things they claim to oppose. Communists will go all in about how, oh, post 9/11 Islamophobia was bad, blaming an entire religious population over the radical movements of some random people are just not good. Meanwhile, the Uyghurs They are a fucking radical religious sect, and they must be eradicated and re-educated at all costs. But you're not allowed to point that out, because if you do, oh, you're just taking imperialist talking points from Adrian Zenz. Well, that's weird. None of the things that I showed you are Adrian Zenz related at all. None of the sources here are Adrian Zenz. These are sources that are specifically not Adrian Zenz, specifically avoiding Adrian Zenz. But again, it shows the same conclusion. Uyghur genocide. No, you can't do that. No. When America wants to give resources and develop trade relations with a Latin American country, they are some evil imperialist pigs that are trying to make it so that they are subservient to them. Meanwhile, China goes, hey, we want to do the exact same thing to Africa. Oh, Xi Jinping. When a right-wing government is cracking down on protesters who want freedom of expression, how dare this group? Meanwhile, when China or Russia or Cuba face any sort of protest of their kind, coup attempt, it's a coup attempt, the US is funding a ton of money to these groups to make it, seriously, when Cuba had their fucking protest groups, it's literally just people were meeting oh yeah, it's a color revolution. It's what the? Or, hypothetically, maybe there are some people in Cuba that don't like how their government is run. Crazy thought. The fucking situation in Nicaragua is so fucking weird. Because it's literally just Nicaragua. In Nicaragua, there were student protests, and then literally every single left-wing source that I saw was the coup attempt. It's I'm literally just looking at all the objective sources. What? Where's the coup attempt? I am so confused. It's just wait, are you talking about these protests that happened? And literally all of them said coup attempt. It's just yeah, these random student protesters, they were so totally leading the coup against the Nicaraguan government. Not just current figures, past figures as well. They love doing historical revisionism if it means redeeming a communist figure that is objectively in the wrong. Such as Deng Xiaoping, the PSL's newspaper, literally labeling the Tiananmen Square massacre as Tiananmen, the massacre that wasn't. Ignore the many footages of the Tiananmen massacre and the Tiananmen crushing of the protesters. Ignore those facts, because those contradict what we say. And one big one that really makes me just nope, just automatic nope. Stalin. Because a lot of people on the fucking Twitter communist sphere really want to redeem Stalin. A fool's errand, I know, but it is just so prominent that I just can't overlook it. And the biggest one is the flat-out rejection of the Soviet Axis talks. Not only, I've gotten this a couple of times recently, where it's on one end, it's no, the Soviet Axis, no, it actually was the same person, because it started as the Soviet Axis did not actually have interactions with each other. Then when I showed them objectively true, it's oh yeah, they did talk to each other, but what he was actually doing was that he was actually trying to bide his time, waiting, and it's wait, so you admit what I'm saying, that Stalin changed his mind on the Nazis, and aligned with them when it benefited him, and didn't align with him when it benefited him. And then their immediate response was, oh, but when the West does it, you don't disagree. It's wait, what? Are you stupid? Have you never read a textbook? This person genuinely thought that people were critiquing Stalin for appeasement to the Nazis, and has not critiqued any other figure in regards to appeasement to the Nazis, ignoring the fact that literally the one Westerner that was being super appeasement, who was well known for his appeasement strategy during World War II, is heavily criticized in the West. Nobody likes Neville Chamberlain. Nobody likes him because of his appeasement strategy. He has been effectively denounced by the entire West. And yet, for some reason, you're going to pretend that he doesn't exist just so you can say that we're critiquing Stalin for this, even though it's what? And another thing, second thought, again, he made a video where it's just Yeah, when they call the fucking Soviet Union authoritarian, it just doesn't make any sense, really, dude. It just doesn't make any sense. You see, the term is meaningless, and it's only used to hurt the left. It's like, are you sure there wasn't any other regime in the World War II era that was considered authoritarian? And is in fact one of the first, if not the only, governments that is considered authoritarian by many people? If you were literally to go up to a random person on the street and ask them, name an authoritarian government, they'll probably name this government, and Soviet Union would be listed like second, usually. Sure there wasn't any other one? Nothing, none at all? You're told, ignore all the information that makes these figures look bad. We can only look at the information that shows these figures in a positive light. Like, yeah, all these things that say Stalin, like, tried to, like, team up with the Nazis. No, that's just Western propaganda. No. But this thing from RT that said that he was a good man, that's completely true. And that's another weird thing. Like, actions don't matter, apparently. Only words. Like, and that's one of the things. You hear this all the time. Like, whenever people try to redeem Stalin, they always say, like, well, his theory states, well, in Stalinist way of thinking, in the Marxist... No, dude, you're not understanding. I don't give a fuck what he was thinking. I don't judge a politician based on what they think. I judge them based on their actions. And, yeah, if you judge Stalin by his actions, he's a monster. If you judge, I don't need to know what Deng Xiaoping said in his fucking shitty book. All I need to know is that he massacred a bunch of students who disagreed with him. I don't need to read, like, Xi Jinping's fucking, like, viewpoint in the market economy. I don't care. That means nothing to me. What matters is what Xi Jinping is actually doing. Like, I mean, I'm sure that his philosophy shows in what he's doing. And that's how I judge a figure, on what they actually believe that this is the best way to dictate our philosophies. And the biggest thing is they're just like, for some reason, communists, even though they claim they're like the most well-read people, they read all these books, they read all these theories, they got all this knowledge in their head about how the world works, they just absolutely refuse to learn from any of their mistakes. I mean, I try to help people understand the mistakes that a lot of people in their, like, groups and things do. Like, Communist Party USA, like, I made a whole video about them, and you could literally analyze them. They did the best when they went, like, screw our rigid orthodoxy and be open to more, like, broader people. Then that was when they did good. But when they were extremely rigid, extremely exclusionary, extremely sectarian, they did terribly. But they don't want to do that. They're hell-bent on repeating every single fucking mistake they make. When the KDP says, no, you Social Democrats, you're the real fascists. We're not going to work with you at all. We're not going to vote with you at all. We're going to make it so that the Nazis win. Instead of learning from the very obvious mistake that was made in that interaction, they really just want to repeat that same thing again so they can feel more superior. Like, yeah, I didn't bend the knee. I fought for what is right. Like, I genuinely don't understand. Like, there's one example from the fucking DSA's, like, Marxist Unity group. There was this guy called Cliff Connolly, and he literally posted a tweet thread that was literally just like, yeah, under the Donald Trump presidency, America is going to become a fascist hell state. Here are the things that you need to do to prepare for that. And then people would comment, like, well, I guess one of the first things that we should do is to advocate that people vote for Biden to prevent that hellscape from happening. And they're just like, no, I'm not going to do that. It's like, what? Are you legitimately fucking stupid? You acknowledged that this action will lead to a directly antithetical outcome to your ideology. And yet, you are not going to take any action to prevent this from happening. And he's advocating for his many followers to follow in his footsteps. And instead of actually advocating for anything else, like, these guys, they don't want to do anything. They just want to bitch and moan and complain on Twitter. That is all they want to do. All they want to do is that. because they don't actually do anything else that is even remotely indicative of anything substantive to the world. Cliff Conley would rather spend every day on Twitter going, hashtag Genocide Joe, Genocide Joe, Genocide Joe. The whole, the U.S. political system is run by fascists, instead of actually doing anything to try and combat the fascism in the fucking political system. Ryan Knight would rather be searching all day on his iPhone, where's the hammer and sickle emoji, before actually doing anything to try and get us anywhere close to the supposed ideology he wants. And the revolutionary communists don't even get me fucking started, because these guys are like, oh yeah, we want to unite and organize a revolution. And it's like, okay, then why aren't you doing any of that? No. What you'd rather do is go, AOC bad because she don't want us to get skin cancer. When this is the thing you're fucking complaining about, you've run out of fucking problems. Which is weird, considering I think there are a lot of fucking problems that you could talk about instead. Pick a number. You have quite a many to choose from. But no, you would instead rather choose to go to complain to AOC, like, oh, AOC, she wants us to not have skin cancer. She wants to fundraise money for people dying in a blizzard. She wants us to elect more politicians to enact Medicare for all. Ew! I'm gonna organize my general strike movement, where I'm just going to spend all my time on Twitter saying how, in order to do a general strike, we need to make sure that all the politicians that are actually even remotely advocating for us will lose, and then have the fascists win, and then more information to follow. Because nothing bad has ever happened to a communist under a fascist regime. No, not at all. Now, I stated, I admire some communists. I've read the book. Again, I've read the manifesto. I don't necessarily disagree with the actual things they advocate for. And I'll even say, I admire some communists. Che Guevara, Karl Marx, Salvador Allende, Thomas Sankara, Earl Browder, kind of. The Japanese Communist Party, the American Communist Party from the 30s to 50s, or at least some aspects of the 30s and 50s ones. But there's a difference between that and the people I'm talking about. These guys have actually done things for their ideology. Many of the companies that I'm talking about, they don't do anything in regards to their ideology. None of the things I have said in this video are even remotely going to help communists down the line. Because it turns off more people from becoming communists. All the stuff I say in this video is that is why I will never be a communist. Because if that's what communism is, I don't want to be in it. If only there was an ideology that has all the good aspects of communism, but not actually all this negative stuff. Wait. Socialism. That's it. That's what I'll be. Now, be that as it may, if someone goes you're a communist, I don't really care if you call me that or not. It's irrelevant. Really? Again? It's because it's what it really am I aside, the four things in the fucking, title sequence of this show are basically, the broadest political identifiers that I would identify myself as: left-wing, socialist, progressive, independent. Because I am broadly, I'm an independent-minded person. I don't toe a party line. I don't, hitch my wagon to specifically, any broader, group, whether it be political or, just generally. I'm progressive, because I'm a social progressive. Socialist, because I'm an economic socialist. And left-wing, because, again, broadly, all those politics would be left-wing. But the specifics I will probably be here and there, because it's I've identified myself as a ton of fucking things. At this point, the closest actual ideology, actual specific ideology that would probably be identified with me would probably be socialism of the 21st century. But it's I'd put that in the title sequence, but that's a little that just sounds a little weird to be putting in the title sequence. So whatever. But I don't think there's ever going to be a time where I put communist in that title sequence. Because, again, I just can't really identify as a communist when all that kind of stuff seems to be intrinsic to communism. Because I've yet to see a communist that is not any of that stuff. Anyways, that is pretty much all I have to say on that. Never going to be a communist anytime soon. Socialism for the win. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and click that bell to notify when a future video of mine comes out. And if you want more content from me, you can go to my website, follow me on Twitter, join my Discord, or consider supporting me on Patreon.